What's up, everybody? We are back, and we have good news this week. A lot of times we're focusing on the bad things, but we've got good news. And that good news is that the Gaza-Israel war seems to be at an end. Both sides have agreed to a ceasefire. We are in the first phase of it now. There's not supposed to be any more hostilities while this phase is carried out. Monday, there's going to be, I guess, a hostage swap where 1,700 detained Gazans and then another 250 Gazans that are serving a life sentence in Israeli prisons will be released in exchange for all of the living and deceased hostages that Hamas has in their possession. Israel will also be releasing 15 bodies of deceased Gazans for every body of the hostage that is returned. On top of that, the IDF will be pulling back to a point that is undisclosed as of right now, but they will be pulling back to some unspecified line, and aid will be sent into Gaza. So, number one, that's a good thing. And I guess tomorrow they're coming out with Nobel Peace Prize winners. This is kind of a short time span this has all happened. And, you know, this deal could still fall apart, so we don't want to celebrate too early. But this is good news. And so they're picking these Nobel Peace Prizes tomorrow. I think it's pretty clear Donald Trump should get one. He's put forward that this would be the 8th war he's ended during his term. I'm not going to go through and list a bunch. It's a lot of them are smaller ones that never really broke out into full-scale wars. But nevertheless, he's been credited with ending all these hostilities, and that's a good thing. That's what U.S. presidents should be focused on, is ending wars, not starting new ones. And I know Trump got a lot of shit for bombing Iran and, you know, that the whole 12-day war that took place. But thankfully that didn't escalate and turn into some kind of crazy regime change war, even though I think Netanyahu wanted it to turn into that. But it didn't. So I think that credit needs to be given where it's due. I think Donald Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize. If you'll remember, Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize 8 months into his first term for doing nothing. Okay. He ended up killing more people with drones, including a U.S. citizen, than any other president we'd ever had. So I don't know why, if Barack Obama can win the Peace Prize for doing nothing, why Trump can't get it for ending a really horrific war. I think that one's a no-brainer, to be honest with you. But again, and that's only because I say that now because I think they have to decide tomorrow who's winning the Nobel Peace Prizes. And that, honestly, at this point, if this deal fell apart and hostilities started again, I think Donald Trump would have no choice but to cut aid off of Israel. We have come too far in the peace process for some sort of false flag attack or Hamas not following through on exactly what their word is to return us back to full-scale war. I don't think we're going to go back to that. Even if one of the sides, you know, doesn't completely carry out their side of the obligations, we're not going back to what we've been seeing for the past 2 years. And that's a good thing, obviously. I mean, the suffering of millions of people was horrific, and I'm really glad that it's over. And it seems like we have a real shot at peace in the Middle East right now, at least for the time being. But with the good news comes some bad news. I had completely underestimated, until I read this report a couple days ago, how much money we had been sending to Israel during this war. I thought we were still just around the $3 billion a year mark, and that wasn't even close. New report came out 3 days ago that in the last 2 years, we have given Israel $21.7 billion. Again, $21.7 billion to destroy Gaza with. Israel could not have completely destroyed Gaza without our money. The U.S. taxpayers paid for that. And just so everyone's clear, the U.S. taxpayer is probably going to pay to rebuild Gaza too. So we got hosed on both ends. We flattened Gaza for the Israelis, and we're going to rebuild it for the Palestinians. So just in case you were worried your tax money was going to a good cause, no, it's not. It's being used to slaughter people. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's not to say, because we haven't tackled this topic a whole lot on this show, because I like to focus on domestic issues, but this is a really big deal. I like to say that we should be spending our money domestically, clearly, right? Israel receives this $21.7 billion. They destroy Gaza with it. The American people really have no say over this. We did not vote to send money to Israel. In fact, voting for Trump, he seemed to be the one that was the more pro-peace candidate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I thought that was pretty clear. The Trump really was dedicated to ending the war. It is over now, but we have sunk so much money into this already. It's really just sickening. And for reference, according to NBC, okay, back in 2016, when the Democrats were losing their mind, we couldn't build a border wall. The independent estimates were that if Trump were to follow through on building his entire border wall that he was proposing in 2016, it would have cost us $21.6 billion. Kind of a convenient number, actually, just a little bit less than what we sent to Israel. So we were able to come up with $21.7 billion to destroy Gaza. Okay. A area, so small you could jog around it in a day. We were able to come up with that for Israel, but we weren't able to come up with the $21.6 billion to build a wall on our own border. And of course, as we all know, that was in 2016. Joe Biden would win in 2020, and 10 million people would flood across the southern border. So just in case you weren't sure where our politicians' priorities lied, they are all in and giving all of our taxpayer money to Israel, yet they will not secure our own border. So, and that $21.7 billion is just, as of right now, we're going to be rebuilding Gaza. You, the taxpayer, getting completely shafted. It's outrageous, and we should demand Israel give that money back. I'm not kidding. And we should not give a penny to rebuild Gaza. I know our politicians sent the money, the bombs, everything to destroy it. I shouldn't say we're not going to be. We are going to be. We should not be on the hook to rebuild it. I'm sorry to those people who had all their shit destroyed by our taxpayer money, but we're not rebuilding it. We shouldn't rebuild it, at least. It's a damn shame, really. But at least the suffering is over for the Gazans, as of right now, in terms of the airstrikes. I mean, obviously there's, still have a really long, difficult road ahead of them. It's going to take a lot more aid to make sure those folks are getting the medical care and the food, water that they need, medicine. But at least the Israeli planes aren't going to be over their heads anymore. It's tough. It's a bitter pill to swallow, what the United States has done the last 2 years with, our part to play in what happened there. But at least it's over for now. So we're going to talk more about all the money we've sent to Gaza and how we could have used that money here domestically. I'm sure, every one of you guys listening to this right now could look around your neighborhood and think of a good use for $21.7 billion. We could upgrade just about every school in the United States with $21.7 billion. Or we could go destroy a third world country. Just one of the two. Take your pick, whichever one. We could build a border wall to protect our country from 10 million illegal immigrants coming in, or we could kill a bunch of poor people. One of the two. It's, whichever one makes the defense contractors more money, I guess. So, again, sorry to bring a little more of a downer spin on what should be a happy day and a good piece of news. But again, it is a good thing. It's a good thing that it's over as of right now. And there is another topic that I have wanted to visit. We talked about it last episode a little bit. We talked about Trump sending in the troops. But right now I want to talk specifically about Portland, what's been happening there with the National Guard being activated. I know the National Guard has been sent to Chicago, and there have been all sorts of accusations flying around. And let's give you first, just so you can get an idea of what's been going on there. If you guys are on Twitter, you probably know who Nick Soder is, and he was arrested after he had been assaulted. Okay. And to be clear, I'm going to show you a video of when he was assaulted. Apparently he got arrested afterwards for grabbing an American flag that someone was trying to burn, crime of the century, right? But he is actually attacked physically in this video, and the people that attacked him were never arrested. Let's play the video right now. Oh, and for those of you guys that are just listening on the audio version, you already heard him being called a white boy. You have Nick walking down the street. You have this fat guy or woman, maybe, dressed like some kind of weird Mortal Kombat character with this long, flowy kind of black cloak with a black mask, glasses, and a hood. And he's getting in Nick's face, won't let him walk straight, and then calling him white boy, I guess, which is weird because both of these people are white, but, whatever. Here we go.
I'm walking down the street. You ain't going nowhere. Get out of here. I'll fuck your ass up. I will fuck your ass up. Get out of here. Get out of here now.
Okay, and right here, for those of you guys listening again, other Antifa members start to get umbrellas out and hold them in front of the camera. And that's when you know the attack's about to come. So what these Antifa people do is they come in with their umbrellas when there's cameras around, and then they beat up whoever they want. That way there's not good video of who did what. So that's what they're doing right now. They're blocking the cameras out with the umbrellas, and this fat guy is now going to punch Nick. And right there, they throw a couple punches at Nick, throw him into some bushes, and now they're laughing at him.
Nice rainbow color. I like your rainbow.
So there's like 50 people here, Antifa members, all with masks on, these umbrellas, dressed in black, surrounding Nick, and they physically assault him. None of them are arrested. What is going on in our big cities that this is allowed? Why do we even have a police force if things like this are going to be able to go on, only to then later arrest Nick? You can see they've got Antifa's got the whole street blocked. And he goes on in an interview later with Tucker Carlson to say in broad daylight, Antifa shuts down streets and the police stand right there. Okay. A shop owner comes up whose shop is on this shut down street, begs the police to make Antifa leave so people can get to his restaurant. The police walk over to Antifa, ask them to move. They say no. The police say okay and walk off. What is going on? What the fuck? How can you arrest somebody like Nick, okay, for grabbing an American flag that's being burned, okay, but all those people that just assaulted him get to go free? They could just shut down streets wherever they want. What? The taxpayers of Portland pay for those streets. What makes a few thugs think that they get to control who gets to walk down the street or not? You can see in that video, they tell him, walk somewhere else, as if he's not a free American and can walk down whatever street he wants. And the cops aid and abet this. Okay. He tries to defend himself. When he gets punched, he punches someone back, and the DA comes out and says this was lawful self-defense. He's arrested anyways. But it's lawful self-defense. The police arrest him. And so it's not completely clear whether they arrest him for grabbing the flag or for defending himself, but the DA comes out and says him punching that Antifa member back is not a crime. So apparently that was a part of the referral to the DA. But how is it possible the police can be complicit in all of this? Okay. What it looks like to me from that video and from what I've seen that was allowed in Portland the last 5 years is that the police are working with Antifa. The leftist community leaders, okay, whether it's the city council, the mayor who gets to appoint the chief of police, obviously, all these people are in cahoots, or at least sympathetic to the communists that are in Antifa, and they have decided that the police are going to stand down, that people who defend themselves from the mob will be arrested. The mob will be allowed to do whatever they want. People can shoot up heroin on the streets. They can walk around, assault whoever they want, defecate anywhere, have sex on the street. They can do all that stuff. But if you push back, you are going to be arrested. It's exactly what we talked about last week when I said the chaos is the point. They are destroying our cities on purpose and making it very clear you are not allowed to defend yourself. The only people who can defend you is the government, and they're not going to defend you if you're a conservative. So you better not walk down the street if you're a conservative, and you better not film it either. Because when you are assaulted, and you will be by these thugs, the police are going to arrest you. And it really, really drives me insane because I hate the idea of the federal government coming in and telling localities and states what they have to do. I hate big government. But man, Portland is trying to convince me that the Department of Justice coming in and disbanding police departments is the right thing to do. Because that seems like the only fix here. If a police department is so rotten that it's letting Antifa run the show and arresting the people that are assaulted by the thugs, what's the point? Why even have the police force? Just disband them, save the taxpayers some money, and be done. And then maybe the people can defend themselves without fear of being arrested. Anything is better than the government aiding and abetting the criminal organizations, the terrorist organizations, which is what Antifa is. It is a terrorist organization. They commit violence against civilians for political purposes, which is the definition of a terrorist organization. And again, and I already mentioned it, the drugs are done completely in the open. Property crime, cars are destroyed. Nick mentions again to Tucker Carlson that his car was vandalized. Nobody was arrested for it. Property crime is completely acceptable. And if you remember back to 2020, BLM was allowed to burn Portland down. It's the same city they had Chaz. They had that law enforcement free zone that they eventually had to shut down after somebody got murdered. Yet, of course, they waited until somebody got shot to death before they did anything, as if that outcome wasn't completely predictable. Your government hates you if you live in these big cities and you are a conservative, especially if you live on the coast. Either coast, pick one, West Coast, East Coast, doesn't matter. Your governments hate you. They will not protect you. You can only protect yourself. That's why we will never give another inch on the Second Amendment. These leftists have really done a service, actually, to the American people by radicalizing us even more towards the freedom to bear arms. most people, I think, around 2015, supported the Second Amendment. Maybe some people owned guns, if you lived in rural America. But man, after the Summer of Love and the left really started trying to defund the police, and we got to see what happened to Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny. It's really given me, and I think a lot of others on the right, a new appreciation for what the Second Amendment is really for. Because they'll try and tell us that, Charlie Kirk, deserved to get shot because he was pro-gun or some other complete bullshit. But when you watch what's happening to the big cities, that is why we have the Second Amendment. The government was never meant to protect you. They were meant to stay out of the way while you protect yourself. Now, they're not doing that. They're arresting you for your exercising your Second Amendment rights, for protecting yourself even without a firearm. But it's just become absolutely outrageous what the government tries to do to you for defending yourself. And again, I'm going to circle back here. That means we are never going to give up our Second Amendment rights, not give an inch ever again. Because what the Portland police force is doing here is criminal. They have completely abandoned their oath to protect and serve the people of Portland. They're not protecting anybody except the thugs. If you live in Portland, and you're a conservative, the only protection you have is the Second Amendment. You better protect yourself because the police are not coming for you. They're not coming to help you. They're coming to arrest you. It has just become so out of control. And I'm sorry, if you still live in the big cities, I know everybody has their reasons, but if you can, get out. Get out of there. Those people hate you. And I'm not talking, everybody. To be honest, I love going to San Francisco. It's one of my favorite cities in the whole country. Okay. It really is a beautiful place. But the people there, especially the leaders, the people that are district attorneys, that are, have say over you. If you go there and you're the victim of a crime and you defend yourself, they hate you. If you defend yourself with a firearm, they will try and put you in prison for the rest of your life. And that's exactly why we can never back down. Why we will never let them take our firearms, why we will never let them pass any more laws about limiting our magazines, about how many guns we can own, about what type of ammunition we can have. None of it. Because in the end, the police are not there to help us. Man, it's become really depressing what's happening to our big cities, that the left has completely hollowed them out. And I heard Tucker Carlson say this, and I'm going to repeat it because it's true. We can all love being rural Americans, but man, the cities are the heartbeat of the country. If our cities are destroyed, the country is destroyed. And people are free to disagree with that. You could, tear me all up and down in the comments if that's what you want to do. But man, I'm sorry, it's true. When LA, New York, Dallas, Portland, all these countries, when they become completely uninhabitable, we've lost the country. Because those cities are important. I hope it turns around. I really do. Because we can't allow the left, the Democrats have run our cities for decades. And the more we let them run the cities into the ground, the more unstable our country becomes. And remember, that is what they want. They want an unstable country because then they can justify their power grabs. They can justify cracking down on the Second Amendment. They can justify cracking down on the First Amendment. Not fairly. I'm not saying that when they justify it, they're right, but I'm saying they can make a better case to the people that live in these cities that the government is your only answer to the protection. That, people talking shit on X are the reason that race relations are terrible, or that, that they can convince you that Charlie Kirk deserved to die because he was a Second Amendment advocate. Okay, that the riots, that everything that's going on in our cities is on purpose. Please do not forget that. They are hollowing out our country, and they're doing it just to stoke more chaos so that the government can take more control and grow even bigger. And it's a long game for them. They know that Donald Trump isn't going to be president forever. And they know even if J.D. Vance wins again, he's not going to be president forever. The left will return to power. And when they do, they will use the chaos they have sowed in our cities to grow the federal government and seize power for themselves. Mark my words, that is what is happening. We are unfortunately creeping closer and closer to some kind of armed confrontation in our country, a big one. And the left is setting the stage for it. Terrorist organizations like Antifa cannot be allowed to continue to operate in our cities. Our police need to, A, grow a backbone and take our streets back, or the DOJ needs to come in and disband them. Build up a new police force from the ground up and take the streets back that way. And I know that I said in our last episode, even just that we don't want to fall for the trap, that we don't want to just march troops into every city we can. And that's still true. Okay. We should have the hierarchy. If we can get the local police force to do it, great. If we can bring in other local police forces to take back the streets, great. Then if we have to have, National Guard play a part, okay, fine in the short term. It's not a great solution. And then, of course, the highest level being the activating the Insurrection Act, where federal troops march into our cities, being the absolute worst case scenario, what we do not want to happen. But we have to take control of our streets back while we are still in power. We cannot let this problem fester for years and years and wait for another Democrat to be in charge again and allow them to activate the National Guard and military in our cities. Let's fix the problem now. Let's get the DOJ in here. If the police department's corrupt and is being controlled by leftists, let's disband it and build it from the ground up, and let's be done before the midterms. Let's solve the problem now. And with that, I know I leave you guys with a tough one. I know we're all small government people, and we don't want military marching around our cities. But if the government has any legitimate reason to exist at all, it's to protect our physical well-being. And if they can't do that, and especially not if they're aiding and abetting the people who are the threat to our physical well-being, they have no reason to exist at all. Disband them, bring in government agents that will do their job. Let's rebuild the police force and be done. Thanks for listening, guys.